Now, this game is going to be kind of funny to talk about here because obviously, as you can see by the title, everyone is going to be talking about this crazy Hail Mary at the end with Jaden Daniels getting it to Noah Brown for the touchdown. But honestly, this Washington Commanders victory was really more about their great defensive performance and the overall lack of offense from the Bears passing game.
Yeah, I think we've talked a lot this season about the Bears defense being a highlight for that team, and also about the Commanders defense early on being a low light for that team. Uh,
Yeah.
for a little bit, then the Commanders defense has started to step up. I don't think that the Bears defense has regressed here, but unfortunately, the offense had the same struggles. And against a team like the Commanders, who have already won a game without a touchdown, it looks like you really have got to be on your A game offensively. If your defense isn't going to be able to completely hold them down, and if you keep allowing them to get into field goal range, and that's kind of what happens. For a brief moment, though, the Bears did look like they finally stole it. We were going to come away with a victory over a wounded Jaden Daniels and the Commanders. Jaden, who played pretty well, especially in the last play of the game. So stop dancing around it. We'll get to the stats of this game, break it down. Obviously, the biggest thing that happens is in the final seconds, but this game is certainly a defensive battle between these two rookie-led teams. So for the Commanders, Jaden Daniels goes 21 for 38, 326 yards, throws a touchdown, has no picks. That touchdown is the Hail Mary touchdown, obviously. So he is second in rushing, tied for second in rushing on the team with 52 yards. Brian Robinson Jr. led them with 65 yards, and Austin Eckler was tied with Jaden with 52 as well. Terry McLaurin led the air with 125 yards. It was Noah Brown who hauled in the 52-yard Hail Mary to get that Commander's touchdown. Finished the day with 73 yards on three receptions, but the 52-yard Hail Mary would be his biggest contribution for sure. Right place, right time. Everything goes well for the Commanders in that play. We'll get there. Olamide Zacchaeus fumbled, but it was recovered by Jeremy McNichols, so doesn't go outside of the Commanders' control. And Jazon Newton recovered a Caleb Williams fumble. Austin Seibert did miss a field goal, but he still put in 4 out of 5 to score 12 of the Commanders' 18 points. So this is a little reminiscent of his first game when they come in. They play the Giants. The Giants score 21, or Giants score 18 points on field goals or on touchdowns with no extra points because they had no kicker, and the Commanders field goaled them to death. Austin Seibert comes out, puts up 12 points here, and then sets up the score to be in a spot to where you have a chance at this amazing finish. For the Bears, offense was not very good. Caleb Williams went 10 for 24, not great, 131 yards, not amazing. 0 touchdowns, no picks. Did have the fumble. He was second in his team in rushing with 41 yards, which is pretty good. So it wasn't like the worst day ever for Caleb Williams, but it was certainly not a day that he would like to think too much about other than how to not do that again. DeAndre Swift led the Bears on the ground with 129 yards. This would be boosted and capped off by his 56-yard touchdown that would seem like it put the Bears in winning territory. Obviously, other things changed there at the end, but Swift was certainly the kind of the high point for the Bears in this game. Rome Odunze was the leader in the air with 41 yards, and that is kind of it for the Bears. They struggled in the first half. They put up 0 points. It was a 9-0 first half for the Commanders. Certainly a Commander score this year. They would score 9 again in the second half. But the Bears would kind of take control a little bit as you get into the second half. And the defense is still trying its best. The offense finally finds its way to get that 56-yard touchdown from DeAndre Swift. And then they score again at the end of the game to really feel like they've stolen it as they get the they get a few penalties that help them get down the field and get that the Rashawn Johnson touchdown with the Cole Kmet 2-point conversion to make it 15-18. Now you're looking good. The Commanders need a field goal to at least tie, but the Commanders had other ideas on this one. So I tried to keep up with this game, but I had to go to a meeting. I have an organization that has meetings at the worst time for the afternoon slot on football. So I've seen the Hail Mary. I wish I got to see it in live time. So I will now pass over to you who did watch it in live time as the Bears game unraveled in just 25 seconds on that last drive.
Yeah, if my neighbors heard me, they probably thought I was going crazy. I mean, I didn't have a dog in this fight. Obviously being a Panther fan, but that play was absolutely crazy. I mean, you saw it, Jaden Daniels running around for like a whole 3.5 minutes. I'm exaggerating, of course, but he had time to run around, set things up, and Noah Brown was in absolutely perfect position to get the ball tipped back to him. I mean, they just Bears defense, they let him alone, right there in the back of the end zone. Like somebody turn around and look, and obviously Tyreek Stevenson, he was looking elsewhere, clearly. Um, as Jaden Daniels is running around, he's beefing with the crowd, and I know he came out and apologized and all that, but still, it's still a big moment to have that kind of, I don't know what, mental breakdown. I don't know what to really call what he was doing, talking to the fans, but I think it is partially luck, of course. I mean, Hail Marys are just kind of luck, but they obviously practice that so well for Noah Brown to be in such perfect position. Because if you get you're not gonna get somebody catching the ball when there's like 7, 8 guys right there in one pack. So obviously you have to tip it up and backwards. And of course, the Bears ended up tipping it. Um, but either way, Noah Brown was in perfect position to catch that. Now, with that being said, the rest of the game, look, the Bears defense, a lot of bend but don't break in this one. They in all those drives in the first half where the Commanders got field goals, they let them get all the way down there pretty easily if not too much resistance. But they held them out of the end zone except for, that Zach Ertz play, which they called back. They ruled it incomplete. Um, maybe not. I couldn't really tell. They replayed it a lot of times, but I just couldn't really get too much of an angle, so they called it incomplete on the field. They left it as incomplete. But besides that, they kept them out of the end zone when it mattered. Unfortunately, they didn't get anything from their offense. I'd love to see the exact stats, how many yards the Bears had in the first half, because most of these yards from DeAndre Swift, coming on that long touchdown and later in the game. Obviously, Caleb Williams, I mean, he was like 416 at one point, so I mean, getting nothing really from that passing game. And like you said, we were hanging our hat on the Bears defense going up against either, an injured Jaden Daniels, and he seemed like he was fine. Those ribs didn't bother him one bit. Or, possibly Marcus Mariota. So, I mean, as well as the Bears defense did in the red zone, you still let them get all the way down there. It could have been a whole lot worse if the Commanders could have punched it in. And for the Commanders defense, late in that game, like outside of that stupid play by the Bears trying to get the ball to the offensive lineman on like the one to run in and they fumble. I mean, that should have been the game right there. That was just dumb. Um, but letting them get that big touchdown, obviously DeAndre Swift, and then letting them drive down on you on that last drive, like the Bears didn't deserve to win this game, but they very well should have at the end here, and it took that Hail Mary, with 10 seconds left. Um, for the Bears to end up letting this get out of their grasp. So I am a little disturbed with like how poorly the Bears offense played, but that gives me a whole lot of confidence with the Commanders defense because obviously, I mean, the offense, outside of not punching it in, offense looked great. So that is a little, distressing, especially with all those weapons that you do have on the offensive side of the ball. So big day for the defense. Outside of the Hail Mary, this was just, for the most part, a pretty dominating game by Washington.
Yeah, and it puts them in a pretty solid position, right? You got a little wiggle room to maybe, obviously, you don't want to, but you maybe drop a game to Philadelphia and not be out of a playoff race, right? Obviously, you really don't want to drop a game to Philadelphia because you're only a half above them. Washington moves into the 6-2 position where they are pretty firmly, still leading the division after, a tough loss to the Ravens, set them back after they were kind of on fire. And for the Bears, this one really is really unfortunate, right? Because you've lost and you're 4-3, which is by no means like a bad place to be. However, you were playing in the locked in division here, and the Vikings are 5-2, the Packers are 6-2, the Lions are 6-1, and so you've still got a massive uphill climb to try to make a fight for the top of your division. Obviously, as we start to get later in the season, we can kind of see where all the NFC playoff spots trickle to, and how many of these NFC North teams can break through. But this is a tough one to lose, because even, say Washington starts to slip up a little bit later on in the season with Philadelphia or with Dallas or something, um, then maybe you're looking at competing for a wild card spot, and now Washington's got this over you. So tough one for the Bears here, who are in a battleground division, trying to get their way up to the top. Got kind of a little bit of a hand me down here as the Vikings. I wouldn't say got completely robbed, where they lost their game to the Rams on a pretty bad missed call. No guarantee that they would have scored on that drive, but it took away the opportunity for them to do so. So that balanced out the division a little bit, but the Bears losing, kind of ends up making it to where they fail to capitalize on that. Like, they could both be 5-2 right now. Instead, they're now 4-3. So a little bit of panic here for this Bears offense to perform that way against the Commanders defense, which is, we've talked bad about. We're giving them their props here, but right, the Packers, the Lions, and the Vikings have much better defenses than the Commanders. So the Bears have got an uphill road to try to fight back. It's not over for them. It is not completely panic time. That division is still pretty close, but this is a tough loss to take, and it really puts a bad light on this offense heading into next week.